it's very easy to say women are bitches. They're difficult, right? As much as it's like, oh, hashtag me too. And whatever.
Girl, you and I have lived that life.
Oh my God. And it's like, oh, she's so difficult. She's such a bitch. And, whereas men are assertive and strong and, very good
confident
businessmen. Yes. Yes.
Leaders.
And there were so many times that I held back for fear of that label, which I got anyway.
Oh, yeah.
And every time I was like, oh, do I really want to start to think about this? Do I really want to be difficult? What happened is that my concerns about the project came true. The TV show didn't work, or the book didn't work, or whatever it was didn't work. And then nobody wants to work with you again anyway, because nobody, like, success has many fathers, but failure is an orphan. It's like, they don't work with you anyway. So if you just trusted your gut, it would have worked, and they would have had to continue working with you, even though they would have called you a bitch and they would have called you difficult. So that kind of self-doubt in those moments, I think I've paid for dearly, really do think I've paid for dearly. And when it comes to physicality and overall health, oh my God, I have made mistakes that I never thought that I would make. And one was being overly confident with my fitness and thinking like, well, I can do that and I can do this. And it's, crazy shit like racing horses, however fast across an open plain, and, jumping jet skis over, 6-foot swells. And I got away with all of it until one day I didn't. And one day I took a really bad fall and fractured my L3 and subsequently herniated 3 discs. And let me tell you, I never understood the meaning of pain until that happened. And now I have a very healthy respect.
What happened? What did you do?
Dude. Oh, just, when you get caught up in like the Instagram shit of like, oh, here's
doing
me
something
doing
cool.
a one-handed handstand and, like for shits and giggles. Like it serves no purpose. And, made a mistake, slipped and fell. And all those years of like being so careful and eating all the right foods and, building my core strength and balancing my biomechanics, like in a second, fucked it all up.
Another one, divorcing your body. Bye. See ya.
Bye. Yeah.
You can come back to me in like 2 months.
Oh my God.
How long were you out?
Oh, 3 months. Couldn't walk, couldn't stand, had to crawl on the floor.
Did you need surgery?
No, not yet.
Yes.
And I say not yet because it feels in my mind, it's kind of like having a time bomb in the base of my spine. Because I'm like, well, what happens if one day I make a wrong move or I do the wrong thing? And that's it. You kind of only get one. So I was working with a doctor named Dr. Stuart McGill, and he's a PhD, he's a scientist, and this is his specialty, is studying the spine. He's kind of like this crazy savant genius. And, he got me through all the phases of it, but I'll never forget, I was feeling really confident. I was pain-free, and I was like, I'm jumping rope, and I did this, and I did this. And he goes, listen, you will never have your old back. Chill the fuck out. And I was like, wow. I mean, it hit me like a ton of bricks. You give it a meaning and you learn from it and you grow and you become wiser. But at the end of the day, sometimes you make a mistake and it's like you got hit by a bus. You're living without that leg for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? You make a mistake and you'll never get to that next level of success. Sorry to be a downer. It's really more just like a warning. Be wise, be smart. And the younger you take that advice, the better off you're going to be. But so often we don't pay attention to it until it's all falling apart. Right. You know what I mean? Like you don't read the book about anti-aging
until you're old.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yes. So, right. If anything, I would say like 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, like pay attention now. Now is where it really matters in so many ways.
Was there a lesson? Because I feel like I've in my life, like the really shitty things that have happened, I'm able to extract a really big lesson in it, or I'm able to develop empathy for in a way that I never had it before, because I might used to think in this way, like if I'm putting myself in your position before an injury, like, it's not that big of a deal. You'll be fine. Like, make sure you do this. And like, you don't have empathy for someone who's going, I'm injured. You know, I might have said before, like, are you really that injured? Like, can you not do something?
Come on, get out of bed.
Right.
What do you mean you can't walk? Oh, please. I know, dude.
Right. So was there some like gem that do you feel like your empathy for someone with an injury changed afterwards? Or was there a big life lesson from being on the DL for 3 months?
You know, with the physical injury, yes, I got all of the above, a completely different understanding of people who live with pain, because everybody had a horror story for me. It was like, this 30-something-year-old kid delivered a bed because we moved to Miami, and I'm laying on my stomach because I can't stand up. And he's like, you hurt your back, didn't you? And I was like, yeah, how do you know? And he's like, I did the same thing. And he had like this, told me this horror story. And he's like, I live with pain, but I manage it. 30 years old. And everybody, I live with pain. I live with pain. I live with pain. And I was, Jesus. So I do think it has yet to reveal itself to me how, because I don't really want to make money off of it. It's like, can't really be a book. It can't really be anything that I profit off of. But I wonder down the road, am I going to do something that helps people in chronic pain that don't know which way to turn, that don't have the right doctors, that don't know how to feel better? I have you're right, a different understanding, a much greater empathy, because before it was like, oh, that sucks. You know, why don't you try swimming?
Right. Exactly. Do something, right? So maybe it's so not, stupid. Maybe it's a character. Maybe it's like maybe it's just an empathy and a personality thing. Like, you know, there's stuff that I used to judge pretty hardcore. And now I look at some things now that I've had to experience, and I'm like, oh, I get it. Yeah. Kind of like, I'm so sorry I judged before. I know, right? You learn things. Might be a softening. Absolutely. Oh, there's a major lesson to every one of these things. But, you know, I was just talking to my shrink about this the other day. I was like, look, man, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow and I was in a wheelchair, I would definitely go the whole, like, how do I inspire people? How do I live my best life? I would do my best to make those lemons into lemonade. However, deep down, I would still be like, fuck, I'm never going to walk again. I'm never going to run again. I'm never going to ski again. And while I would say, listen, just like you, right? Like, let's make the lemonade out of lemons. What can we gain? How can we become deeper, wiser, more intelligent, and all of the above? If you can avoid getting hit by that bus, and there's work you can do to prevent these mistakes, where it's like, look, dumb people never learn, right? Smart people learn from their own mistakes, but wise people learn from other people's mistakes. If there's anybody wise out there, avoid the bus. Avoid it. Take your life lessons in other ways. But you are right. There are certain things I had to learn the hard way, and that was absolutely one of them, without fail, without question. You're right. In business, in that bucket of just kind of being yourself, essentially, and it's not even just like a matter of like flexing a muscle that you have to be tough and be in charge. It's more, I mean, I feel like there's an essence of like, just like knowing intuitively what's right and wrong and speaking up for that. So what changed? Like, is there an example of something where you're like, I stuck to my guns and this happened? And this is an example of I didn't stick to my guns and this happened.
Here's a perfect example. It was like, how did we get Jillian off of The Biggest Loser onto a Jillian platform that's about Jillian? And this is, I say, how do we, like, my business partner, myself, the people involved in trying to grow the brand that was my brand and not The Biggest Loser brand. So one example would be the spin-off show called Losing It with Jillian, right? And the head of the network wanted it quick, wanted it now, wanted it fast, and gave us 6 weeks. It was like, okay, Jillian's going to move in with these families. We're going to come back in 6 weeks. And, there's the reveal. He was in charge. And so I was like, this isn't going to work, man. Like, this isn't going to, like, you're going to go on this kind of like intense journey where, this person lost a baby and this person went through like all these things that caused people to utilize food as a coping mechanism. And you need to move the bus. When we move the bus, that's Biggest Loser. Like, the bus has to move. It's got to be like, look at that amazing transformation. nobody can do that in 6 weeks. I can come back in 6 weeks. It can be 50 pounds later and they look like they got a haircut maybe. The payoff's not there.
Right.
And he didn't want to hear it. And he called my business partner, John Carlo, who you've met. You tell that bitch to shut the fuck up or we're going to rethink our entire relationship with her. And I got scared and I was like, uh-oh, I better. And of course, guess what? The show didn't work. And then Jillian Michaels can't carry her own vehicle. And then it was a disaster from that point on. Whereas maybe when I was riding high on the #1 show on NBC and arguably one of the bigger draws on that show, and had the highest Q score at the time, right? And had I maybe said, you know what, then I'm not doing it. Instead of having the failure under my belt that created a stigma that nobody wanted to touch, right? And it's like, well, she can't carry it. She couldn't pull it off. She couldn't do it. Had I just said no, instead of allowing the fear to be like, okay, well, let me be the good girl. You know, I may not get this opportunity again. Like, let me do it. Such a big mistake, Mama. Such a big mistake.